So welcome back, everybody. This is Paul again, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about the media in general. I've been kind of focused on some of my recent presentations because the media, as we all know, is a major factor in most of our lives. And we, without thinking about it, we go and watch TV or we watch signs or whatever. But the media plays a tremendous role in our culture in the way we make decisions about so many things in our life. And I want to talk a little bit about how today the media, there's people who are hired, very expensive professionals who are psychologically hip and so on and know how to sway public opinion because there's a lot of money behind the way people think and the decisions that we make, for example, for corporations and drilling pipelines and so on. There's a tremendous amount of money involved. And the media they deliberately use propaganda techniques, well-known propaganda techniques. Now, a lot of people who, we can be forgiven easily. We just don't know much about media. We just want to turn on the news and get the information. But the media professionals, there are distinct ways that they use to, in the phrase, a very popular phrase, divide and conquer. Divide and conquer is a really, really old technique that has been used in the military and so on. It's also used in the media. And the first thing that it divides us is our attention. When media, if you just look at it, it is fractured, swiftly moving imagery, really short sound bites, a lot of interruptions and commercials, and a lot of haggling back and forth, and the heads talking, and the very glaring opposite colors of red and blue, or the other opposite ends of the spectrum. All of that is just divide, 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 just fracture people's attention. Now, a lot of people are very, we might say, innocent or whatever. We think, why would they really try to divide us? I mean, is that really a deliberate thing going on? Of course it is. And the effects of it is very fracturing because, again, like fractured attention, fractured everything, fractured, we don't get full information. When people are confused and divided, they're easy to sway. And they're the old magician's trick. Okay, this is a very, very common thing in the media today. We make a big, okay, now it's about the clowns. Oh, there's a bunch of clowns. Okay, well, how do you know that there's somebody not paying somebody? Somebody's got some resources and fancy clown outfits. What's going on, But whatever the reason, there's some distractions. Hey, look over here. Look what's going on. Meanwhile, we just did this over thing that like the way they do sign bills on the last day of the year, and just before they leave office, they just sign some ridiculous thing, or they pardon 100 people or whatever. And sorry about that, but I'll be on my way now. So the media is complicit, and they're losing their credibility in a really huge way now because so many examples of just plain flagrant dumbness and manipulation and organizing an opinion and poor journalism and fake shows and everything, all kinds of manipulation going on. Because at the top, there's only a few companies that manage the media, and, they have similar stories. If you ever, pop into a bar and you see all these 30 TVs in there and you switch them, they're talking about the same thing on every channel, if it's news, And they just go on and on and on. Dividing our attention is very, very important. Our attention is a thread. Our gift of life is our attention. If we're just distracted, again, dividing. Now, what other things do they do? Okay, exaggeration, giving incomplete information, never resolving anything. And one of the biggest techniques that propaganda, so obvious, when you take a really complex issue, like let's say, there's many of them. It could be abortion, it could be guns, it could be, gender issues, it could be climate. You take all these, something extremely complicated with many factors involved, and you either brand it one way or another, and then you basically just make fun of people who disagree, And propaganda, one big propaganda technique is to take something complex and make it appear simple. That is just blatantly propaganda. Because, for example, climate. Okay, human beings, no doubt, have effect, especially where, big cities and there's pollution, and there's definitely things that human beings are doing that are disastrous to the earth, and some of them, the pollution may not be directly, implicated in climate. Climate is known to change. Climate has been changing for a very, very long time, and sometimes it has shifted very rapidly in fairly short periods of time, even when there weren't very many people on the earth building cars and so on. But the main point I'm trying to say is that anytime you see a complex issue being made into this simple package, yes or no, this is it, okay, 97% of scientists say, 97% of bribed scientists say in this, but it's divide and conquer, because we get divided as a people and we can't make good decisions. That's why the country's in a mess, because there are literally people, people have a hard time understanding, get wrapping their head around the fact that it is deliberate. There's deliberate chaos in the media. There's deliberate confusion so that the politicians can just go do their old thing. Oh, you don't know much about the law. You're distracted. You never read a book. So, it's okay if we just sign this thing over here. Don't worry about it. It's all cool, But if you actually follow through and you say, well, wait a minute, that's unconstitutional. There are people that don't want people to know what the Constitution is, what freedoms is. The young people today are going to grow up in a world of surveillance, never remembering a time where they could go to school and they wouldn't get the damn fingerprints when they went to school or whatever, or chipped. So the media is a very, very powerful tool, and it's being misused. It's being used horribly, and we have to get wise about it, because the fact is that, we need more important information. We need really good information. We need intelligent discussion. We need resolution. We need details. We need facts. And, sometimes, it comes out of fact as an inconvenient fact. I remember that movie the other day, 10 years ago or whatever it was, where an inconvenient truth. Well, an inconvenient truth is that there's massive bank fraud and there's massive political corruption, but you don't hear that being talked about in the news. It used to be a time when we go to war, we have this big, huge discussion, and then the Congress would vote on it and all this stuff, And now it's like we just make this sneaky thing and buy some, equipment and find some mercenaries that'll do what you want and pay them some money, and it's crazy. So the media, if we're going to, get information, we need to be responsible for what we know. We need to read books. We need to, yes, there's a lot of crazy, crazy stuff on the internet. Okay, fine. But what if there's little facts in there? You put all the pieces together. The fact is that's another thing that media does. Make it simple. Okay, here's the picture. This is the picture that we want you to see, and this is how big it is. It's just this big. Okay? No, it's not really that big. It's much bigger. There's a much bigger picture in this whole life that we're living than the political propaganda. And make no mistake about it, it is propaganda. There is an attempt to manipulate people's opinion, sway them down a path of one or the other, just like cattle. Okay, everybody go over this way because that's where we're hurting you. Okay, and no, you can't go over this way, and if you do go over that way, you're crazy. Okay? It's all about manipulation. And companies would not be spending billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars consistently if there wasn't some purpose behind it. Yeah, they get a lot of ads from pharmaceutical companies. But if you stop watching TV for a while, just stop, completely stop, and don't let yourself get embedded in there for a while. And take a look at what's going on. It's just a constant mess. There's more and more talk about just the most ridiculous things. And that's why the public media has gotten so out of whack. No wonder people don't listen anymore. If the credibility's gone in the media, if their stock and trade is credibility, and if you don't have credibility, what do you got in the media? Nothing. And those billion-dollar companies that have all those experts out there trying to analyze the people and say, okay, what do we got to do now to sway them over to this side here? Who do we got to send out? Are we going to like send Bill Clinton or whatever, send some person out to give the message? Someone who looks nice, maybe, and tell a joke. And that's what happens. They want to do a message. Okay, send this guy down to the comedy show, and have them do the routines and get everybody laughing, and then we'll go back to our war, So the media is very, very important. It is our tool. It's a vital tool. If we don't have a good base of information with critical thinking, discussion, disagreement, okay, check your facts. Okay, well, maybe that wasn't completely true, but there's still some element. Okay, and maybe it's just one element. Okay, we put this piece in the picture over here, and then you put a bunch of pieces, and you say, wow. And that's the media likes to hide. There's all kinds of obfuscations and just distractions and divisions, and it just, we have to be responsible for ourselves to go out and learn more and step outside the comfort zone, because things are not as they seem. I mean, we're told certain things. We know that. I mean, there's an old saying. If someone's lied a bunch of times and then they get caught, and this is what politicians do, then they go out and say, well, I'm sorry I lied about that last time, but don't worry, I'm not going to lie now. Or I'm sorry about that corruption and that scandal, but don't worry, I'm cool now. But that's their job. They got a career. They have to say whatever it takes, because they're not going to say, well, I know you don't believe me anymore, so I'm washed up here and I'm going to quit politics and make speeches that nobody believes. The people who want to stay in power, they have a reason, and they get friendly with the media, and if they're charming and they can talk or whatever, then they can sway people. And it's the old magician's trick. Talk nice and make a secret deal. Say whatever you gotta do and be jovial and play the saxophone or whatever you gotta do, or hold the babies. And as soon as that election time's over, we'll go back and do our mischief, and that's how it works. Now, the media, again, there's many, many ways that it deceives us, and I'm going to talk more about it because it's just common sense. You have to say, look, enough of the crazy talk, enough of the nonsense, enough of the incomplete stories, enough of the bullshit, excuse my language, and we have to say, if there isn't intelligent discussion and dialogue on the regular TV, then we're going to have massive creation of discourse on the internet by millions of people who are basically going to say, okay, we are now the media. We are the ones with the voice, because, the other voice is just, like a loud thud of toxic, bovine scat, sort of say. So I'll thank you again for listening, and I've gotten a little bit of good feedback lately, and I know I make a lot of videos telling similar things. Thanks again for listening.